to be able to visit with you and to see what it can mean to staff to have family be able to join them at this period of their summer ministry. I would guess that probably part of the reason for that, at least in the leadership of the camp's mind, with Matt and with Mary and Christy, the ones who went out and did the recruiting of all these staff, the ones who went and invited them to come and take on this ministry for the summer, knowing from their experience how challenging it is, knowing full well what they're asking them to do for this summer, and for their families to do with having them come and be a part of this ministry with us, they would like to do probably what the Apostle Paul was wanting to do when he wrote his letter in 2 Timothy to express to a member of his staff, Timothy, what it meant to him to have him be with him in ministry, and wanted to thank him for coming and bringing with him that gift of faith. And probably more than anything, what we want to thank you as staff for is that gift of faith. But knowing it didn't develop in a vacuum, knowing what the Apostle Paul knew as he wrote to young Timothy and said, I know that that faith was also there, with generations come before you. And so Paul said it in this way. He said, I am reminded and I'm grateful for your faith, a faith that lived first in your grandparents and then in your parents. I remind you, rekindle that gift of faith. Now, Paul actually only mentioned his grandmother and his mother, but inclusive language can go both ways, and I thought as a grandfather and a father, it'd be good to maybe bring them both in there. It is a lot that's asked. I see it every week, and so do fellow staff members and those in the leadership of this staff. See campers being asked by whether it's elementary school, high school, or families to give and give and give of themselves and their time, and we see you doing it hour after hour, day after day, week after week, as though there's nothing in the world you'd rather do than go with that young child once more to wherever it is they want you to take them, to once more do whatever it is that someone is asking of you. And we know at times it is more than enough to be asked again and again to do so much of what is asked. There was a book that I came across a few years ago. The authors of this book actually met on an airplane flight from the city of New York to Los Angeles. There, Marilee and Marge met, and sitting together on that flight, they discovered they had some kind of common dreams, but using different medium. Marge said she liked to take photographs of people in life situation. That photo would talk about something significant in our life. And Marilee said, I like to write those kind of things in short forms, things that people can relate to because they're living it and experiencing it. I'd like to share with you one of these short readings. Marge did her picture, and her picture maybe some staff can relate to if you could see it. And it is a picture of someone who has people all around them, seeming to pull them in every direction, and the person is mouth wide open, screaming for release from all of this. And I would guess there have been at least a moment or two during these first few weeks when you have felt like that. So Marilee writes these words to go with the picture, and maybe it will fit for you. Lord, I am up to my eyeballs in people. I want to scream, to shout, stop it to the whole world. I feel out of control, unforgiving, misunderstood, exasperated with everyone for pulling me in so many directions. I can't stretch that far, Lord. I can't meet everybody's needs, be all things to all people, be available all the time. I can't slam doors, scream, or even swear without feeling guilty. Something struggles inside of me to be born, and I feel torn between idealism and reality, high goals and low thresholds. Well, very quietly, Lord, I would like to go off behind a building somewhere, take an old set of dishes, and just smash them against the wall. I won't, but oh Lord, I would love to. There was a time at this camp when in our dining hall, all the dishes were glass. All the cups were glass. All the saucers and everything in their serving dishes were glass. One Saturday at noon as we were having lunch, the camp director came and said to me and two friends of mine sitting next, one of them might have been Ed out there, I don't know, but he was here at that time. He said, we're going to make a change in camp. I want you to meet me in back of the dining hall. Most of you on staff know that's not something you want to hear when after lunch is when time off is supposed to begin. But like you were trained to do, we did a trained response. We smiled and said, sure. And so after lunch, we met the camp director behind the dining hall. And there we found the camp pickup and all kinds of cardboard boxes, not broken down like these, set to be retainers. He told us he wanted to take those boxes, go in the kitchen where the cooks had taken all the glassware they had, put them in these boxes, put them in the pickup, and take them to the Custer dump. It looked like an awesome job, and it was. That pickup was loaded to the sides and heaped up with boxes of glass dishes. So off to the dump we went. We backed up. In those days, it wasn't like a landfill. The dumps, we hadn't learned much yet about how awful it was to put what we were in there. We put in there, and so down in this hole between our camp and Custer were all kinds of things. Garbage you'd expect, also parts of old car bodies, freezers, stoves, refrigerators, all kinds of things down there. So we threw the first box of dishes in there, and we're kind of amazed by the sound it made as it hit different objects. And so we decided, without ever talking about it, we would start aiming these dishes down there. So dishes started flying at anything hard enough to make a sound as they exploded in that dump. And pretty soon our voices, I guess, got carried away with it all. We got much more creative. We started throwing dishes in the air and hitting them with cups before they ever hit the ground. We were having a great time out there at the dump. So much involved what we were doing, we didn't even notice a car had pulled up. Until there was a brief pause. In all this excitement, we heard a door shut. And we turned around and discovered the car was the Custer County Sheriff who was there. And the guy who looked very much like he was employed by that department was walking over to us. And his question he asked was, "What are you guys doing?" And so we told him. The camp director told us to come out here and throw these dishes away. We weren't sure what he said, but we were glad his next thing was a smile. And he said, "Well, I got a call from a lady who lives near here. And she said she didn't know what was going on. She thought it might be at the dump. She wasn't sure. But it sounds like people are smashing out windows of somebody's house or cars or something. There must be a lot of people up there for all the noise." I told my husband to go check, but he said he didn't want to go up there. So we called the sheriff. We quietly put the rest of them down in the dump and left there. I don't know exactly what Marge and Mary had in mind when they wrote and depicted their picture. But I do honestly believe, and though we never thought of it at the time, the three of us came back to camp and probably had as good a therapy as if we'd have gone and spent an hour at Lutheran Social Services and told them of the challenges of being a camp staff person. It did us good. There's times we need that kind of release to all that's going on, all the demands are about us, because it's a lot. It's a lot for anyone to ask. And Matt and Mary and Christy know that. They've been in this business long enough at every level to know what they're asking of you as staff. And so we sincerely want to say to family, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for the gift of faith you've given those sons and daughters who are here. And thank you also for the dedication that they have to doing the ministry that asks so much of them. And now we get geared up all over to do it again, beginning this day for new people and a new week. What could ever motivate us to do it? I think in part we know that what the writers of this book knew when they titled their book God as a Verb is what we have experienced. It's not easy for any of us to describe what God looks like as a noun, but a God moving and active, that's the God we know. That's the God we sense and experience in this place, week after week of what goes on here. And it drives us again to invest ourselves in this ministry at whatever level, at whatever place we are part of it. For I do believe that for most, if not every camper who comes here, there is a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa or a brother or a sister or someone back home who's praying that this week might be a powerful week for them in their life. And I know there are parents of staff who are here. Some were here now, others who were unable to be here, who also hope for every staff person here this summer, that this might be a significant part of your faith journey. And they pray that because they know we have a God who is a verb, who is active and moving among us. It's an awesome task, and we take it on the staff because we know that none of us have the ability to do it alone. But we do it in a family of fellow staff, encouraged by family back home, who have given us an example of what it means to walk the faith. And so we venture again, put on our blue shirts and our smile and our active body and get going at it once more. Because we know in this week too, that active God who is a verb among us will do things far beyond what we could imagine ourselves, whether we know it or not. Because it's the faith that moves us to do that. And it may be that the camper goes home at the end of the week, and a few weeks later can't remember even what village it was that they were in here, but they remember that hammock up there. And they remember lying in there in the afternoon in the cool breeze. And while they were there, they remembered the words at the campfire. They remembered canoeing across the lake. They remember all the people that were part of their community of faith here, and they sense a kind of peace and a kind of hope that they can't describe. But they know that somehow in this community that all of us are a part of, God moved through there, and their life will not be the same. With the wonderful people we have serving as our wranglers, they may not remember their names, but they remember Laramie. And they were sitting on that horse out in the beautiful Black Hills National Forest when all of a sudden, the songs they had sung, the hikes they'd taken, the fun they had out on the green, the fun they had in the crafts room, all these things seemed to come together in a way that their life seems to make sense. They can't explain it, don't know how to talk about it, but everybody's been a part of that. It isn't the one person. Don't have to remember any one of us. They know that in this place, in all the things we do, whether it's starting this campfire or speaking the words that they hear here, whether it's setting the food out to pack the lunch or going with the canoe across the lake, whatever part we play, it's a significant part in the lives of the people who come and are here with us. And so we go for one more week. Step up once more time this day to meet these people, to come into this community with us where there is a God active among us. Not knowing exactly where it will be, how it will happen, or for whom it will be in what way. But we do what we are called to do, and do it at our best, because we know that God will be faithful in what God has promised to do, no matter what. Amen.